There comes a moment in life when the phone stops ringing, the messages become fewer, the invitations disappear, the people you once showed up for stop showing up for you, and suddenly, you feel forgotten. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, like you've slowly faded from the world. And the hardest part? No one tells you why. This is where most people break. They start questioning their worth. They replay the past. They wonder if they've been replaced, or if they were ever truly valued at all. But what if this moment is not rejection? What if it's redirection? Because Stoic wisdom teaches something most people never understand. Sometimes life removes noise, so you can finally hear yourself. And if you understand this, what feels like loneliness becomes power. 1. You were never forgotten. You were just overextending yourself. There's a truth most people avoid facing. You didn't become invisible overnight. You became over-available over time. You gave too much of yourself, too often, to too many people. You answered every call. You showed up every time. You made yourself easy to reach, easy to rely on. And slowly, you trained people to expect you, not appreciate you. There's a difference, and it's a painful one. Because when people expect you, they stop noticing you. Your presence becomes normal. Your effort becomes assumed. Your absence becomes the only thing that gets attention. This is where the shift begins, not in how others treat you, but in how you've allowed yourself to be treated. Now, this is not blame. This is awareness. Because once you see it, you regain control. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that suffering doesn't come from what happens, but from what we fail to see clearly. And what most people fail to see is this: the more you overextend yourself, the less value your presence holds. Not because you lack worth, but because you remove the boundaries that protected. Now think about your past. How many times did you say yes when you wanted to say no? How many times did you give your time, even when you felt drained? How many times did you prioritize others and postpone yourself? At first, it feels like kindness. Then it becomes habit, and eventually, it becomes identity. You become the one who is always there, reliable, available, dependable. But here's the part no one tells you. That identity comes at a cost. Because when you are always there for everyone, you are rarely there for yourself. And over time, that creates emptiness. Now here's the psychological truth. People don't consciously decide to ignore you. They simply adjust to the level of access you give them. If you are always available, they stop valuing your time. If you always initiate, they stop putting in effort. If you always give, they stop feeling the need to reciprocate, not out of malice, but out of human nature. And this is where most people feel forgotten. Not because they are unimportant, but because they've been overexposed. Now pause for a moment and ask yourself honestly, have you been available out of strength or out of fear? Fear of being alone, fear of being left out, fear of not being needed. Because when availability comes from fear, it leads to self-neglect, and self-neglect leads to invisibility. But here's where it becomes powerful. The moment you recognize this pattern, you can change it. You can start pulling your energy back, not aggressively, not emotionally, but intentionally. You begin to say no when necessary. You begin to protect your time. You begin to create space. And that space does something unexpected. It restores your presence. Because now your attention is not constant. It is selective. And what is selective becomes valuable. Now here's the Stoic shift. Instead of asking, why are people forgetting me? You begin to ask, where have I been abandoning myself? That question changes everything. Because now the focus returns to you, your time, your energy, your boundaries. And once that happens, you stop chasing connection and start building self-respect. But here's where it gets deeper. Because even after you pull back, even after you create space, there is still a feeling that lingers, a quiet emptiness, a sense that something is missing. And that leads to the next truth most people never confront. Continue. And I'll take you to point 2. Why feeling forgotten is actually a sign of awakening, not loss. 2. Feeling forgotten is not loss. It's an awakening. There's a moment after the silence settles. When it hits you, not loudly, but deeply, you realize that the noise is gone. No constant updates, no unnecessary conversations, no distractions pulling you in every direction. And at first, it feels like something is missing. But here's the truth most people never consider. Nothing is missing. Something unnecessary has been removed. And that removal creates space. Now this is where most people panic, because they've spent years filling their lives with noise. People, conversations, obligations, expectations. So when that noise disappears, they don't feel peace. They feel emptiness. But that emptiness is not a problem. It's unfamiliarity. You're not used to being alone with yourself. You're not used to hearing your own thoughts without interruption. You're not used to sitting in silence without reaching for distraction. And that discomfort is where awakening begins. The Stoics believe that clarity comes from stillness, not from constant activity, not from endless interaction, but from stepping back and observing. Now think about this. When was the last time you sat quietly, without trying to escape the moment? No phone, no conversation, no background noise, just you and your thoughts. For many people, that feels uncomfortable, even unsettling, because in that silence, you meet yourself, your real thoughts, your real feelings, your real state. And if you've been avoiding that for years, it can feel overwhelming. But here's the deeper truth. The life you've been living might not have been aligned with who you truly are. And the silence is revealing that, not to hurt you, but to show you. Now this is where psychological clarity comes in. Most people build their identity around others, who they are to people, how they are perceived, how they are needed. So when those external connections fade, their identity feels shaken. They ask themselves, who am I without all of this? And that question is powerful because it forces you to look inward, not outward. Now here's the Stoic shift. Instead of seeing this moment as loneliness, you begin to see it as freedom. Freedom from constant expectation. Freedom from unnecessary obligation. Freedom from needing to perform for others. And in that freedom, you can finally rebuild, not based on who you had to be, but based on who you choose to become. Now imagine this. Instead of rushing to fill the silence, you sit with it. Instead of chasing connection, you build clarity. Instead of seeking validation, you develop self-understanding. That process changes you, because now your sense of worth is not tied to attention. It is built internally, and internal strength is what creates real stability. Now here's the part most people miss. The silence is not permanent, but how you use it will define what comes next. You can use it to grow, or you can use it to escape. Most people escape. They rush back into noise. They seek distraction. They avoid the discomfort. And in doing so, they miss the transformation. But you, if you stay in it, if you face it, if you learn from it, you come out different, stronger, clearer, more grounded. And that changes everything. But here's where it gets even deeper. Because once you begin to understand yourself, you start to see something else clearly. Something about people that you didn't notice before. And it will change how you view relationships forever. Continue, and I'll take you to point 3. Why most relationships were built on convenience, not connection. 3. Most relationships were built on convenience, not connection. There's a realization that comes quietly, but changes everything. You start looking back at your relationships, and you notice a pattern. People were around, but not always present. They talked to you, but didn't always understand you. They spent time with you, but not necessarily valued you. And that's when it hits. Not every connection was real. Some were convenient. Convenient timing, convenient access, convenient availability. You were there when they needed something. You were present when it suited them. You were included when it was easy. But when things shifted, so did they. Not out of cruelty, but out of nature. Because most people don't build relationships on depth. They build them on proximity and benefit. Who's around? Who's available? Who makes things easier? And when those factors change, the connection weakens. Now this is difficult to accept because it challenges a belief many people hold, that time equals meaning. But time does not always equal depth. You can spend years around someone and still not be truly known. You can talk daily and still not be deeply understood. You can share moments and still not share connection. And realizing this can feel like loss, but it's not loss. It's clarity. The Stoics emphasized seeing things as they are, not as we wish them to be. And when you see relationships clearly, you stop idealizing them. You stop assuming depth where there is none. You stop expecting consistency from people who were only present out of convenience. Now here's the psychological truth. People are drawn to what is easy, what requires less effort, less emotional investment, less responsibility. And if your presence made things easy, that's where they stayed. But ease is not connection. Connection requires something deeper: understanding, respect, mutual effort. And most people never go that far. Now think about your own experience. How many conversations were surface level? How many interactions lacked depth? How many times did you feel like you were present, but not truly seen? That feeling was a signal, not something to ignore, but something to understand. Because once you recognize it, you stop chasing shallow connections. You stop forcing relationships that lack depth. You stop investing energy where it isn't matched. And that shift protects you. Now here's where it becomes powerful. You begin to value fewer connections, but deeper ones. You become selective, not closed off, but intentional. You don't need many people. You need the right ones. And that understanding changes how you move. You listen more carefully. You observe more clearly. You invest more wisely. Now here's the Stoic perspective. Not everyone is meant to stay in your life. Some people are there for a phase, a moment, a lesson, a purpose. And once that purpose is fulfilled, they leave. Not because something went wrong, but because their role is complete. Accepting that brings peace, because now you stop resisting change. You stop trying to hold on to what is naturally fading. You allow things to end without losing yourself in the process. Now here's the deeper shift. Instead of asking, why did they leave? You begin to ask, what did this reveal? And that question gives you power, because every relationship, whether it stays or leaves, teaches you something about people, about patterns, about yourself. And once you learn those lessons, you stop repeating the same cycles. But here's where it becomes even more important, because after seeing relationships clearly, there is one decision you must make, a decision that determines whether you grow or fall back into the same patterns. And most people avoid it. Continue, and I'll take you to point 4. Why you must learn to be alone before you can be truly connected. 4. You must learn to be alone before you can be truly connected. There is a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Most people never understand it, so they spend their lives trying to escape one without ever mastering the other. They surround themselves with noise. They stay in conversations that don't fulfill them. They remain in relationships that don't grow them, not because it feels right, but because being alone feels uncomfortable, and that discomfort controls them. Now here's the truth most people avoid. If you cannot be alone with yourself, you will always depend on others to feel complete. And dependency destroys real connection, because instead of choosing people, you begin to need them. You stay longer than you should. You tolerate more than you should. You ignore what you feel just to avoid being alone. And that weakens you, not externally, but internally. Now think about this. When you are constantly around people, you rarely confront yourself. You stay distracted. You stay engaged. You stay occupied. But the moment you are alone, everything becomes clear. Your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns. And if you've been avoiding that clarity, it can feel overwhelming. That's why most people run from it. They reach for their phone. They look for someone to talk to. They fill the silence immediately. Because silence, for them, feels like emptiness. But for those who understand it, silence becomes strength. The Stoics valued solitude deeply, not as isolation, but as a tool for clarity. A space where you are not influenced by external noise. A space where you can think clearly, see clearly, understand yourself without distraction. Now imagine this. You sit alone, not trying to escape, not trying to fill the moment, just present. At first, it feels unfamiliar, then uncomfortable, then revealing. Because in that space, you start to notice things, your habits, your fears, your desires. And once you notice them, you can begin to shape them. That is where growth happens, not in constant interaction, but in quiet reflection. Now here's the psychological shift. When you learn to be alone, you stop seeking people to fill a void. Instead, you choose people to enhance your life. That difference is everything, because now your relationships are not based on need, but on alignment. You are not staying because you're afraid to be alone. You are staying because it adds value, and that creates healthier connections, stronger ones. Now ask yourself honestly, do you enjoy your own company? Can you sit in silence without needing distraction? Can you be alone without feeling incomplete? Because your answers reveal your level of independence, and independence is attractive, not just to others, but to yourself. Now here's the deeper truth. The more comfortable you become alone, the less you tolerate what doesn't align. Because now, you are not afraid to walk away. You are not afraid of silence. You are not afraid of starting again. And that fearlessness creates strength. Now this doesn't mean isolating yourself from the world. It means no longer depending on it to feel whole. Because once you are whole on your own, everything else becomes a choice, not a necessity. And that changes how you live, how you connect, how you move. But here's where it becomes even more powerful. Because once you master solitude, you begin to develop something most people never build. Something that changes how others see you, without you saying a word. Continue, and I'll take you to point 5. The quiet power you build in solitude, that others can feel instantly. 5. The quiet power you build in solitude, that others can feel instantly. There's a kind of strength that doesn't announce itself. No noise, no display, no need to prove anything. But when it enters a room, it's felt, not because it demands attention, but because it doesn't need it. This is the power you build in solitude, and most people never experience it, because they never stay alone long enough to develop it. They keep escaping, keep distracting themselves, keep filling every empty space. So they remain dependent on external energy. But the one who stays in solitude learns something different. He becomes self-contained. His thoughts are clearer. His emotions are steadier. His reactions are slower, more intentional. And over time, that creates presence. Now here's the psychological truth. People are drawn to those who are not easily influenced, not easily shaken, not easily impressed, not easily controlled. Because that kind of stability is rare. Most people react to everything. They chase attention. They seek validation. They adjust themselves to fit others. But when someone doesn't do that, it stands out immediately. Now imagine this. You walk into a room. You're not scanning for approval. You're not trying to be noticed. You're not adjusting your behavior to fit in. You're simply present, calm, grounded. That energy is powerful. Because it communicates something without words. I am enough on my own. And that message resonates. Now here's where it comes from. Time spent alone, not escaping yourself, but understanding yourself. You've sat with your thoughts. You've faced your discomfort. You've learned your patterns. And through that process, you've built control. Now your emotions don't control you. Your reactions don't define you. Your value doesn't depend on others. And that creates internal stability. The Stoics called this inner citadel, a place within you that cannot be shaken by external events. No matter what happens around you, you remain steady, and that steadiness is felt by others. Now here's the deeper truth. You don't need to show strength. when you truly have it, because it shows on its own, in how you speak, in how you listen, in how you respond. You don't rush. You don't overreact. You don't overexplain. You move with intention, and that intention creates weight. Now think about this. Who stands out more? The person trying to be noticed, or the person who is completely comfortable not being noticed? The answer is clear, because the one who doesn't seek attention often receives it naturally. Now, this is not about becoming distant or cold. It's about becoming centered. You engage, but you don't depend. You connect, but you don't lose yourself. You give, but you don't overextend. That balance creates power. Now here's the shift. When you develop this quiet strength, people begin to treat you differently. They listen more carefully. They respect your space. They value your presence, not because you asked for it, but because they feel it. And that feeling cannot be faked. It is built over time, in silence, in discipline, in self-awareness. But here's where it goes even deeper. Because once you build this internal power, you begin to see something clearly about the world. Something that changes how you interact with everything around you. And most people never reach this level of understanding. Continue, and I'll take you to point 6. Why most people live reactively, and how you rise above it. 6. Most people live reactively. This is how you rise above it. Look closely at how most people live. They don't choose their day. They respond to it. A message comes in, they react. Someone ignores them, they feel it instantly. Plans change, their mood changes with it. Everything is external. Everything pulls them, and without realizing it, they become controlled, not by one big event, but by thousands of small reactions. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. If your emotions are controlled by what happens around you, then your life is controlled by what happens around you. And most people never question this. They think it's normal to feel good when things go well, to feel bad when things go wrong, to react immediately to every situation. But Stoic philosophy challenges this completely. It teaches that power comes from one simple shift: the ability to pause between what happens and how you respond. Because in that pause, you regain control. Now imagine this. Someone says something that normally triggers you. Instead of reacting instantly, you pause. You observe your emotion. You feel the impulse, but you don't act on it. That moment changes everything, because now you are not reacting. You are choosing, and that choice is what separates the average from the rare. Now here's the psychological insight. Reactivity is driven by habit. Years of automatic responses. Years of emotional conditioning. Years of acting without awareness. So when something happens, your mind follows its usual pattern. But awareness interrupts that pattern. It creates space. And in that space, you can decide differently. Now this doesn't happen overnight. It requires practice, consistent effort. But over time, it becomes natural. You become slower to react, quicker to understand, stronger in your responses. And that creates stability. Now think about how powerful this is. When others are losing control, you remain calm. When others are reacting emotionally, you stay grounded. When situations become chaotic, you stay clear. That difference is noticeable because calmness in chaos is rare, and rarity creates respect. Now here's the deeper Stoic principle. You cannot control events, but you can control your interpretation of them, and that interpretation shapes your entire experience. Two people face the same situation. One reacts emotionally, the other stays composed. Same event, different outcome. Why? Because of perception. Now ask yourself, do you see events clearly, or through emotion? Do you react immediately, or do you pause first? Because those answers define your level of control, and control defines your life. Now here's the shift. Instead of being pulled by everything, you begin to stand firm. You don't react to every message. You don't respond to every emotion. You don't engage in every situation. You choose. and that choice creates discipline. Now here's the powerful part. The less reactive you become, the more stable your life becomes. Because your state is no longer dependent on external events. It is built internally, and that internal stability is what gives you freedom. Real freedom, not from circumstances, but from being controlled by them. And once you reach that level, you stop feeling forgotten, because you are no longer living for reactions. You are living with intention. 7. Being forgotten might be the greatest gift of your life. There is a moment, after the silence, after the reflection, after the distance, when something shifts inside you. You stop asking, "Why did they forget me?" And you start realizing you were finally given space to remember yourself. And that changes everything. Because all this time, you thought you were losing something. Attention, connection, importance. But in reality, you were being released. Released from expectations that weren't yours. Released from roles you were playing. Released from relationships that were no longer aligned. And without that release, you would have stayed the same. Comfortable, but limited. Now here's the truth most people never reach. Growth rarely feels good in the beginning. It feels like loss. It feels like isolation. It feels like confusion. Because the old version of your life is fading before the new one fully forms. And in that space, you feel uncertain. But that uncertainty is not weakness. It's transformation. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that discomfort is not something to avoid, but something to learn from. Because every difficult moment carries a lesson. And this moment, the feeling of being forgotten, carries one of the most powerful lessons of all. You are not meant to build your life around being remembered by others. You are meant to build your life around becoming someone you respect. That shift frees you, because now your value is not measured by attention, but by alignment. Are you living in a way that feels true? Are you using your time with intention? Are you becoming stronger, clearer, more disciplined? Those questions matter more than any external validation. Now think about how powerful this is. When you no longer need to be remembered, you become unforgettable, not because you demand attention, but because your presence becomes real, grounded, calm, unforced. Now here's the deeper psychological truth. People are drawn to those who don't seek them, not out of arrogance, but out of self-sufficiency. When your life is full without constant external input, you become magnetic, because you are not taking, you are not chasing, you are simply being, and that being is rare. Now imagine this version of yourself. You wake up with purpose, you move with clarity, you act with discipline. You are not waiting for messages. You are not checking for validation. You are not measuring your worth through others. You are building something, internally and externally. That version of you is powerful because it is independent. Now here's the final Stoic realization. Nothing that is meant for you will require you to abandon yourself. So if something fades, if someone leaves, if attention disappears, let it. Because what remains, or what comes next, will align with who you've become, not who you were trying to be. And that is the real reward. If this message reached you, then you're not lost. You're waking up. Most people will feel this and go back to distractions. But you don't have to. Use this moment. Build yourself. Strengthen your mind. Control your emotions. Respect your time. And everything else will follow. Subscribe to the channel for more Stoic life lessons, discipline, and deep mindset transformation. Because the person who stops chasing attention becomes someone worth remembering.